Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special program covering the visit of His Highness the Amir, Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmed Al-Jabr Al-Sabah, may Allah bless and protect him, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to attend the 2 days first of its kind special meeting of the World Economic Forum under the slogan International Cooperation, Growth and Energy for Development. In today's special show, I will be joined in the studio by a distinguished guest and overseas phone calls to talk about the forum. The forum is held with the participation of heads of state and policymakers from various countries of the world to discuss various global economic issues and developments, with the aim of finding common solutions to confronting humanitarian, climate and economic challenges.
The participation of His Highness the Amir, Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmed Al-Jabr Al-Sabah, may Allah bless and protect him, in the World Economic Forum in Riyadh, affirms the state of Kuwait's keenness to bolster joint action and the international economic progress.
The forum sheds light on sustainability, innovation and cultural initiatives to achieve a comprehensive economic transformation and enhance Saudi Arabia's position as a global destination for investment. The meeting also includes a series of exhibitions and accompanying sideline events. Now we are having Dr. Awad Al-Nasafi over the phone from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to give us a direct insight into the Saudi economic spectrum. Dr. Awad, good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Awad, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is housing the special summit in times where the kingdom is harnessing all of its capabilities to emerge as a global force. What are we expecting next from Saudi Arabia?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The special meeting will focus on three central themes, which include the global collaboration, growth, and energy for development. It will explore how to overcome today's geopolitical challenges, examine how the trends of the transformation, innovation, and economic policy making focus on the need of achieve a net zero future through an inclusive global energy transition. To go back to your questions, what we expect next from Saudi Arabia, I believe that there are three themes or three factors we need to look at. One of them is the economic development. As you may know, that Saudi Arabia has the Vision 2030 progress. Saudi Arabia has emerged as a global capital and platform for thought, leadership, and action, innovation, and solutions that deliver worldwide impact. Continued effort to diversify the economy away from oil dependence. And the regional cooperation, the world is at a critical junction now for global collaboration. Ongoing conflict and geopolitical tension in Middle East, most notably the war in Israel and Gaza, have implication not only for the region but also for the world. Meanwhile, growing fraction within and between countries have hindered trade and economic cooperation. Also, we can just look at the investment opportunity potential for attracting foreign investment in new industries and infrastructure projects. On the social development, I believe that the social reforms which has been done in Saudi Arabia, there are a possible continuation of social reforms aimed at improving women's rights, entertainment options, and more open society. The peace and extent of these reforms remain to be seen also. The geopolitical development, the diplomacy, I think Saudi Arabia diplomacy might continue its effort at regional diplomacy and conflict resolution, potentially playing a role in mediating disputes. In the oil market, the country approach to oil production also will be influenced by global energy market and its relationship with the major consumer. And the result was the coalition of oil, OPEC plus coalition, to secure the oil sources and also the pricing for the oil pricing. I think those are expected to come from Saudi Arabia.
Perfect. Dr. Awad Al-Nasafi, thank you once again for joining us. And now joining us here in the studio, Dr. Talal Al-Adwani, Professor in Commercial and Maritime Law, to elaborate more about the maritime security and the commercial law that will serve the interests of both countries. But first, let's take a glimpse of how the state of Kuwait and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are enhancing their strong relations, with solidifying mutual ties and regional collaboration to become a crucial economic force in the Gulf. More in the following report.
Pivotal and historical points over the course of 130 years, passing over stepping stones that solidified and deepened relations between leadership and people alike. The evocation words of late Saudi King Fahd bin Abdulaziz Al Saud during Iraqi occupation of Kuwait: either Kuwait is restored or Saudi is gone, with it still relatable through the heart and mind of Kuwaitis. The exceptional nature of these share bonds is rooted all the way back in 891 when Amir of Kuwait, at the time Sheikh Mubarak al-Sabah Mubarak al-Kabir, hosted Imam Abdurrahman Al-Faisal Al-Saud and his son King Abdulaziz bin Abdurrahman in Kuwait, standing by their side until they regained Riyadh in 902. This took Kuwaiti-Saudi relations beyond the point of neighboring nations to a relationship of kinship and joint destiny in the face of challenges and mitigating circumstances. The relationship between Sheikh Mubarak and Imam Abdurrahman was passed down the lane of successive Kuwait Amirs and Saudi kings, and further solidified bonds. In 2018, during the reign of late Kuwait Amir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jabir Al-Sabah, and the custodian of two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, the Saudi-Kuwaiti Cooperation Council was established with joint vision of augmenting cooperation and ensuring sustainability of ties in line with Gulf Cooperation Council objectives. The country's leadership have regularly reciprocated visits over the past few years for coordination on various issues of common concern, latest of which was His Highness the Amirs Sheikh Mish'al Al-Ahmed Al-Jabir Al-Sabah, may Allah protect him and bless him, met the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, during a state visit to Riyadh last January.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here with us, Dr. Talal. It's good to have you with us.
Good to.
Dr. Talal, let's start with the first question. Focusing on the naval, commercial, and military spectrum, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia are joining forces to secure their naval borders, as we all know. Are we going to witness any updates in maritime security law in Kuwait, especially Al Durra field, which is about to go into live production?
Yes, I think it's a very valid, point to talk about. There are some sort of joint ventures works between Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, plus the GCC countries as well and neighboring countries when it comes to preparing for the Durra fields. Things such as the implementation of the United Nations Convention of this in 1982. Which gives you a lot of direction and guidance on how to go about hydrocarbons, fields, how to use them, how to go into their stages from the starting point, i.e. the contracting period, up to the production period as well. However, there are some points need to be talked about which Concerning the preparation for how the country should goes about, in i.e. a reform, Kuwait has no further or previous production from marine side. We have always from the land side rather. This is one of the majors one. Plus, it's important that it does have the LNG, liquefied natural gas, which also have a sort of a very specialized contract in the futures. If we talk about the contract also and how the way the ventures and the cooperation between the neighboring countries, I think United Nations Convention of the Sea, as I mentioned, is one of the most important treaties that Kuwait and Saudi Arabia needs to have them implemented as well. Just in case of any other interference from the outside, what would be the advice? The best steps is to go is to elaborate in using all the available means of having the cooperation. And that is the guidance such as Article 213 of the same UNCLOS, which gives you a proper guidance and a proper usage of how to go about the reform, especially in the policy system in Kuwait. We need to have a bit of a reform on the policy systems. I think this is very important. One of the important also aspect we need to mention, in fact, is how to engage and implement the United Nations Convention of the Sea. Things like the services boat, the security boats that has to be, giving all the services around the fields. The coordination, it has to have, one of the reform is you have to have a unified bilateral agreement and multilateral agreement as well. And all of those are given a guidance by the international system. It's always available. However, you need also, bits and pieces that comes into the implementation when you have to reform that policy.
Dr. Talal, let's move to the shore side. As we know, we have the joint railroad project coming up in 2027. Can you tell us more about that?
I think this is very important because if you think about it, Kuwait lacks of railways, and it's very important for the region to be very much communicated and collected together as by having a really fundamental logistical ways other than the road itself, using trucks or using the cars. If you think about having a rails, an advantage of having a rails in the future, that's you're hitting 3 birds, 4 birds in one stone, if I may say. One is reducing the pollutions of that's generated from using the trucks and lorries. Number 2, you're also reducing the cost of transportation. You've got lots of connection between the ports of Kuwait, the marine ports. From that marine port, you need a very nice, let's say, networks that can connect the neighboring countries together. Also, it will be saving a good image of the Shuwaykh port and the future Mubarak ports as well. It's give you a very good connection. I think this is a very good. It also needs a bit of a reform in the policy making as well. We don't have a law that can govern the railway system between and it makes an easy flow and connection between both countries. What I would suggest is having also as a similar to every region in the entire world. Rather than having just a marine transportation or the road transportation, you need to complement those type of multi-system of transportation with the railway to complement that connection, and it makes it so much of easier. It will not only enhance reduce the cost, it will not only reduce the pollution and environment, you will also easing the flow between both countries. And if you think about the strategical thinking of having another means of transportation such as the railway, it's got to connect the east side with the west side of the Middle East itself, of the GCC country. Yes, exactly. And indeed, if you think about it, it will also serve the purpose of the Kuwait strategic point of using the Mubarak port, where in the end it will be Kuwait as a transit area for transiting all the commodities that comes from the GCC countries up to Iraq and up all the way to Turkey. And I think it's a very fundamental point or project to implement in the soon future, hopefully.
So that project isn't just going to save the environment, let's say. It's going to increase the time of delivery of any sort of goods between neighboring countries.
And in fact, it will reduce the timing that it takes to because think about it. If you see the containers that comes from the port, not all the containers comes directly from port. For instance, if you think about this hypothetical examples, that if a mega container ships comes to Dubai, it would never be happening that it comes for 10 or 15 or 20 containers up to Kuwait. So what they do the transshipment in Dubai and waiting for another ship, smaller ships, to take that 10, 15 container to transfer to the Kuwait. However, if you got the railway, that will give a easy flow for the containers rather than to wait to make them transshipment for 10, 15 days. It will be making instant transportations from Dubai to Kuwait, or from any other port, marine port in the GCC countries up to Kuwait. That's one of the advantage to have the railways.
Dr. Talal, can we just go a little bit back and talk more about, if you can elaborate more on the sustainable development goals, and what are they?
Well, if you think about it, it's one of the goals that it's been set, the 17 goals, sustainable goals that have been set by the international systems, one of which will serve the purpose of the Amir's visit to Riyadh today. In fact, one of those 17s, it's the environmental, the marine environmental, the land and the air. I guess your first and second questions is very much concerning the environment, because having more of a system that complement each other will reduce the emissions, which is one of the goals that the 17 SDG of the international system has been emerged with. Another thing is about the economy of the country having a sustainable economy, such as the economy, the plans that's been set in Riyadh now, and it's ongoing in the discussion of how to improve the economy of the system. In fact, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, for example, they do have the capital, they do have the
masterminds also.
Absolutely. Indeed, you have the mines as well, the local mines, and it's a matter of how to engage everything together. You've got all the tools in front of you on the table, and I think this stage is not it's not a stage of discussion, it's a stage of implementation, it's a stage of having a result. And I think I'm very optimistic that the soon future we will see a lot of development in Kuwait and in the neighboring country, putting all the adventurous available tools that we have, starting from the economy-wise and resources, human resources as well. I guess the GCC countries and the Middle East will be booming up in terms of business opportunities. And I think I've heard in the today in the news as well the strategy that Riyadh has put ahead, and I guess it is a very wise way to take ahead. However, what we would love also to see is having the Kuwaiti funds get engaged into those type of forums.
Before we get into the Kuwaiti funds, as we know, the economy is moving on a really fast track. Will they be talking about the AI this year?
I guess it's a part of I don't think any international forums such as such as the current one goes without saying that the AI is one of the most important factors. We've seen Saudi Arabia has signed with gigantic companies, international companies who really care with AI, and I think Kuwait is one of the countries taking the lead, such as signing a huge contract with Google's, in fact, and that is, I think, in the soon future, even a lot of changing in task of works and force of works as well, and educational matters is always directing differently to AI, and it will help also this type of forums in an economy way and in logistics ways as well.
How are we going to be dependent on AI future-wise, economy speaking?
I guess
economically speaking, AI has entered the medical field, let's say. How is it going to affect the economical field?
I guess the AI now, it's getting more an advantage. You can find a lot of development now, where it has machineries or automated machineries that can do a lot of work. So, for example, I've seen ships now running without, unmanned. I've seen cars in California runs unmanned. You say the robotics works that can help even domestics helpers inside the house. You don't need to have interference when you to program it. It has sort of intelligences that it's adequate to collect its information from the internet. You're talking about millions and millions of information that it's fed into the system automatically without the interference of a human person. However, it's also important to have a policy for that, because every machinery is prone to failure, and who's liable in the future and how to cover that liability. Is it the person who's making up this AI, or is it the user of the AI? So I think it's also a reform is needed, and I guess this is one of the important points that the forum is discussing at the moment.
Before we go into more details about the AI, we want to get more into Dr. Talal's field, which is the environment, as we know. What do you think, economically speaking, on the environment needs to be done?
The environment, it's a very important topic. I think you see internationally there's a lot of pressure comes from major countries, major states, in terms of having the international system concerning the environment to implement a lot of protection for the environment. And I think Kuwait has started, in fact, if you think about the oil sector is one of one of the sectors that are ahead of everybody else. In fact, they started implementation of the aims of the SDG aims number 17 of having their ships in Kuwait, the refineries as well, up to the standard that before the law has enforced it. They have their standards, in fact, up and ready for the usage. The little tweak they needed also is having not only to look up to how to have the environmental protection, or they have the sustainable energy. It's also we need to think of how to, in fact, implement it in day-to-day use, rather than having only the refineries or all the ships. You need to have it also in our domestics, in the house. And I think it's one of the environmental plans Kuwait is starting to build in cooperation with a lot of governmental bodies in Kuwait. They have in their tables a serious move to have the implementation of the houses, to have the solar panels, for examples. And Kuwait they have in the north and northwest of Kuwait huge farms that can cover in the sooner future perhaps 25–30% currently, and they have a plan also to go ahead with that aspect. All in all, you're talking about a protection of environment, and also a protection of environment, quite necessary to have a strategy for that. What I mean is it's outside of for the region of the country itself, rather than national. It's a regional, we think. You have to have an agreement and strategy between the countries, i.e. if there is any pollution, air pollution, water pollution, or whatever, that will not stay within the national aspect of the country. It will move because there is a wind or there is a current if it's a marine pollution. Now, how you go about the tackling of that type of is there any agreement that for such rescuing of the environmental from, let's say, if the pollution comes from Kuwait and transport to Saudi, is there an agreement between the both countries to have that quick fix things with the Saudi, let's say, boats and Kuwaiti boats together rather than...
Do we have that?
Kuwait. I think so far we have a very quite good stage. However, we needed we're looking for a better sort of an agreement. As I said, I mentioned at the beginning, there is a better to have a bilateral and multilateral agreement between neighboring countries and the rest of GCC countries. All of it, especially if you think about the marine environment, is very prone to pollution because it's a semi-closed. So any little pollution will affect a lot of resources that all the countries rely on, especially water treatments. And you're talking about also the refineries that use the water system for their cooling, their system as well, the fisheries. And so we are so much of independent countries on the marine. So, however, this is giving it a very important topics to really we need to strengthen our efforts in the GCC countries of having a proper reform, of having proper policies together, implementing the international and regional convention that has been signed, especially the convention that Kuwait, the way they call it, Kuwait Convention 1978. I think we need to have a proper implementation. Yes, there is a system, and however it is not 100% being implemented. That's what we're looking for, in fact.
Dr. Talal, before we go on back to the environment on personal foundation, let's say, or how also people can help out, we're going to take a quick break and get back. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at this report and we'll get back to you.
The participation of His Highness the Amir, Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah, may Allah bless and protect him, in the World Economic Forum in Riyadh, affirms the state of Kuwait's keenness to bolster joint action and the international economic progress.
The Kuwaiti-Saudi relations have gone through pivotal and historical points over the course of 130 years, passing over stepping stones that solidified and deepened relations between leadership and people alike. The two brotherly countries are linked by ties of neighborhood, history, and common destiny, in addition to coordination on regional and international issues, and close cooperation that the leaderships of the two countries have established thanks to their promising visions. The visit of His Highness the Amir Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia reflects the mutual keenness of the two leaderships to communicate and consult on all issues, to further boost joint relations towards broader horizons. The fraternal relations between the two brotherly countries were strengthened by several agreements in media, cultural and economic fields, in addition to numerous memoranda of understanding in several domains. At the parliamentary level, cooperation between the Kuwaiti National Assembly and the Saudi Shura Council is always growing through the joint friendship committees, exchanges of visits, and continuous coordination in international forums regarding all Arab, regional, and international issues. The Kuwaiti-Saudi relations have always represented an exceptional and unique model of relations built on solid foundations of fraternal ties.
The participation of His Highness the Amir, Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah, may Allah bless and protect him, in the World Economic Forum in Riyadh, affirms the state of Kuwait's keenness to bolster joint action and the international economic progress. The participation of His Highness the Amir, Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah, may Allah bless and protect him, in the World Economic Forum in Riyadh, affirms the state of Kuwait's keenness to bolster joint action and the international economic progress.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is hosting a special summit of the World Economic Forum, which comes in an extension of cooperation between the Kingdom and the World Economic Forum, where more than 1,000 international participants, including heads of states, senior officials, international experts, leaders and thinkers from the governmental and private sectors, international organizations and academic institutions, gather to discuss various issues aiming for progressive development. The global economic meeting aimed to find common solutions for humanitarian, climate and economic challenges. As the unique meeting of its kind and the largest in the region, is an opportunity for decision makers from all over the world to find common ground between various parties to create positive global impacts. On the sidelines of the forum, Saudi Arabia is hosting a series of exhibitions and side events to highlight the latest trends and developments in a number of important topics, including sustainability, innovation, and culture. These events and exhibitions will also highlight the kingdom's unprecedented historical transformation and significant economic growth in light of Saudi Vision 2030 and its ambitious projects that aim to achieve a comprehensive economic transformation and enhance the kingdom's position as a global destination for investment. The Minister of Economy and Planning in Saudi Arabia, Faisal bin Fadl Ibrahim, stated that the special meeting of the World Economic Forum in Riyadh will focus on international cooperation, growth and energy. And this event will be a new platform that enables the World Economic Forum and global partners to discuss in constructive dialogues to find solutions to the challenges facing our world today. For his part, the president of the World Economic Forum, Borge Brenda, said at the time of increasing divisions between advanced and emerging economies, there is an urgent need not only to identify areas of common interest, but also to foster new and influential partnerships. Borge also added, as one of the most important leaders in the global economy, Saudi Arabia is in a unique position to work closely with both developed and developing markets to enhance cooperation between countries and help achieve their long-term goals in the areas of trade and energy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with more questions to Dr. Talal. Dr. Talal, let's talk about the coastal area that we have here in Kuwait. As you know, we do live by the coastal side. How can we benefit from that?
I think lots of countries sharing same boundaries. Looking over the Gulf, it's a very small area of water that runs through very quick pollution, and the water circulation is very slow. So any little pollution, you find it very difficult for that water to renew itself and rehabilitate itself as well. So I think what has happened, a lot of international maritime organizations such as United Nations Convention over the Sea has set the fundamentals to have policies for each countries looking over the seasides. Guidance also, one of which you're talking about the MARPOL and the SOLAS as well. It's to protect the environment directly and indirectly. Some of those conventions, for example, that protect the environment directly, such as SOLAS, having the ships that entering Kuwait has to have a specific kind of let's say technical specification for those ships. Otherwise, if you don't have it, you cannot enter the Gulf. However, what I would love to connect as your questions related to the environment and the economy as well. Kuwait has the opportunity to implement a lot of a convention, one of which the water ballast management system, they call it, where the ships, when they dock into the port, they need the surfaces, one of which is having the ballast water system that balance the ship treated in a good way. We still lacks of this type of a treatment, water ballast treatment in Kuwait. This is a very fundamental, because think about it, if a ship discharges its cargo, i.e. the oil, into, let's say, Australia or America or anywhere else, they take water into their tanks. They discharge that water in the Gulf when they come back for another loading. Think about that water it discharged in the Gulf. The salinity and the specification of that water is different than the Gulf. So what it's going to happen, the planktons and the microbial things that you cannot see in the eyes will start eating up the other, planktons in the. So that result in the pollution, and sometimes they call it a red tide pollution. There's several means of that pollution. If you have that system, a water balance management system, in each port of Kuwait, whether they mentioned port or other smaller ports, you will treat that water and prevent the system from pollution. Another thing, so also you can have the oil tanker, when they have their tanks empty, they can treat that the residual and the sediment of that oil to clean that tanks. Kuwait can generate lots of thousand, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of that services provided. A system is there. Kuwait has ratified the international treaties concerning such matters. The only things they need to implement it, and it's not difficult. We have quite part of that machinery. We have the layout, the port. We have a new port, a recent one as well. The matter is only have a small equipment that can lead to have the whole system connected together to have that treatment. And this is not only hitting toward the marine environment protection. You also generating money out of the ships that call
by services,
by giving that services. Indeed. Another thing, so you're talking about the Civil Liability Convention, the CLC Convention. Kuwait has ratified 1969 Convention, where it did not ratify the recent one, which is 2001 and 1992. So partially, it's been ratified 1992. What's the beauty of having this convention? That convention is very important because by its name, called CLC, Civil Liability Convention. So in case any hydrocarbon ships, i.e. oil tankers, has polluted the environment in the Gulf, CLC they have fund by itself. That fund, you're talking about billions and billions of dollars, free of charge from Kuwait. So Kuwait, in fact, will not pay any single dinar. They will open that fund to clean and rehabilitate the shoreside. And I think this is one of the very important. Kuwait has ratified, but never ever since 1980s, since they ratified that convention, it's never been used for any sort of incident that occurred in the Gulf. Some neighboring countries, yes, they have initiated that fund, but Kuwait, in fact, one of their country, they think to have the reform of the policies and have a proper implementation just in case of a pollution resulted from oil tankers.
Dr. Talal, let's move to the future, to mega projects, to Al Harir city here in Kuwait. As you know, Kuwait is partnering also with China, and they are in the leading industry also in AI. What other mega projects do you see coming up?
I guess one of the majors we just discussed, having the logistics and the networking, the marine network and the railways as well. To have such mega project, you have to have the fundamentals, the foundation for it. You cannot implement such a plan. You cannot work it out without having a rail system. You cannot do it without having a regional hub port, i.e. Mubarak port. You cannot implement that plan without having, in fact, a regional surfacing container or feeder ships. Every region in the entire world have their own feeder ships that have little surfaces for a very quick turnaround ships, that they do have a small draft where they can enter even the shallow waters. We cannot, not every port in Kuwait allow mega ships to enter. So therefore, it's very important to have such a feeder ship, smaller ships and other means to have the surfaces. This is another plans we need to think about to provide the infrastructures for that plan, the coordination between China and Kuwait. And I remember some years ago, we do have signed, Kuwait started to sign some referendum MOUs with China, but again somehow it's never been pushed ahead, or maybe there is a delay. Some implementation went on, but some delays went on also to some of the major, and we hope that this is got to be the future looking of.
Dr. Talal, we'll take a quick call and get back to more questions. Sure. I would like now to welcome our second guest over the phone, His Excellency Mr. Jassim Mohammed Al-Bdawi, Secretary General of the Gulf Cooperation Council. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me to speak at KTV2.
Excellency, can you give us your thoughts on the importance of His Highness's, the Emir's visit to attend the forum in Riyadh?
Of course, the participation of His Highness Sheikh Mish'al Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, Amir of the State of Kuwait, in the special meeting of the World Economic Forum under the slogan International Cooperation, Growth and Energy for Development in the city of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, confirms the interest that the Kuwaiti leadership attaches to all of the economic activity hosted by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from one side, and other events organized by the countries of the Gulf Cooperation Council on the other hand. The multiple Gulf participation are considered an enhancement of the strong ties and the strong brotherly relations that bring together all the countries of the Cooperation Council, including the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the State of Kuwait, and the consolidation of the common relations and partnership between them. Just to go back to the economic forum, which represents for Kuwait and the Gulf Cooperation Council countries a basic foundation for discussing economic opportunities and strengthening the regional and international partnership, and that this forum, the WEF, is not only a platform for dialogue but also an activity tool for sharing a sustainable economic future that serves the goals of development and prosperity in the region. The forum also has an impact on economic stability, depending on the political and security stability. A strong tie contributes to achieving political and security stability, which benefits to all parties regionally and internationally.
Your Excellency, thank you once again for your time and input in our special coverage. Back once again with our guest in the studio, Dr. Talal Adwani. Dr. Talal, let's go back to the smart cities. What should the main focus be in those smart cities, other than the maritime?
I guess smart cities, if you think about what you need to have the smart cities, sustainability, first of all, in terms of energy. We need also the easy flow. The operation management has to think about how to make an easy flow to prevent even the traffic into that smart cities. You talk about cities that need less interference for a human being. You have smart houses, you have a smart energy supplies, you have a smart electronics, that's it, even up to using the AI. If you think so advanced with it, now some countries, advanced countries, they have that system that the car is moving by itself, you know, without the interference of a human being. This is all in all, the smarts, even the road, the layout of the road. You find one way that the road is going, you know, northbound. In the rush hour, you find both ways in and out going southbound. How that is implemented, and having all the smart ways that it can create an easy flow for the cars as well. Have a connectivity, that smart city, with the other cities
smart
as
cities.
well.
So the smart city is not just helping human beings save or reduce time in let's say delays or anything. It's also helping the environment as well.
We think about also one point, smart cities. If you create a smart cities, It will make life easier for everybody to start, and it's a very good way to expand in the Kuwaiti, the states, rather than having it in all the Kuwait cities. You can create a smart cities, and I think this is a very.
Do you think we're going to have many smart cities around Kuwait in the future?
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. They're having this type of smart cities, but again, the initiatives of having a smart cities, it's within us. We need to have a reform. We have to have a policies in getting the smart cities around. I guess there is a little bit of points we need to think about. The operation management of the entire Kuwait itself, whether you need to create another Kuwait city outside or away from the Kuwait city, how you need to connect it, how to make in fact a smart government, because if you have a very remote located cities, you perhaps need all the governmental bodies around this. Is that a system that you need to think about? Or is it a matter of having everything electronics, having maybe automated ministries where you can go and by yourself represent, your expired passport, and new passport will comes from the other side. So all in all, there are lots of levels of smart cities. Where you want it to be, that is the aim of the state and the aim of the government to need to think about them.
Dr. Talal, let's get back to the economy before we get off here and talk a little bit, just briefly, about the Kuwait Fund before we end our episode for today.
I guess what I would love to see for the Kuwait funds, I think one of the most successful funds in the entire world. We know the Kuwaiti fund is the first, capital funds has been established in the entire world, and you've got a very, very successful business being created and worth billions and billions, if it's not trillions, perhaps. Those funds, I think it's time for such funds to have their own, hands put on the region, for many reasons, because the region. The future for the regions is booming up. We mentioned that we've got all the tools to have a better economy, to have improve our systems, and I think that this region, our region, will be, if it's been implemented very well and used very wisely, I guess will be in the sooner future one of very wealthy countries, rather than relying on one resource of hydrocarbons. There is a need for those funds to put their hands on. Plus, think about the tax. Mm-hmm. The funds create a lot of international companies. Those companies being deducted their monies from the tax of their countries. There is a way for the international system to reclaim this tax, such as if you put those tax in a social, responsibilities, operations, or works, then that tax, instead of paying it, somewhere, you can get it back, mm-hmm. but and use it within our areas. And think about how many millions and millions of those generated tax that you can use them for your social, areas, and for your people as well. Perhaps also one of which you can support the economy with it by supporting the SMEs, small medium enterprises. Correct. In the government. Lots of ideas, where to start, where to end. Basically, the Kuwaiti funds, they need to have their operation. It's the time, really the time, that they need to shift, the bit of the operation weightage from Europe and America, and put also some effort in our area. People, they say, what are the guarantees for that? We can think about the Islamic, financial institutions or the banks. They can guarantee you in case of failure. I cannot see potential failure, but every business, it has a potential of risk anyway. However, this got to be think about how you cover that, sort of risk. The guarantees are there, the money is there, the tools is there, the brainers is there. So what are we waiting for, in fact? It's just implementation.
Well, Dr. Talal, as Kuwaitis, we accept nothing least than the best, and we would like to thank you for sharing all your thoughts and knowledge, and we are proud of such a Kuwaiti mastermind in his field.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The state of Kuwait and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will always have a unique bond that links the two countries and peoples, as the two countries will continue their march towards further development in several aspects, as they also share one destiny and standing side by side, thanks to a bond forged that many years ago.